All right, so we are live, and you can't see Angelica, but she is there. She's invisible today. Ranard Brown will be joining us shortly. So Bobby Thompson, I'm your host, and Angelica Nicholson from Refining Fire MMA in Washington. And shortly we'll be joined with Ranard Brown of Jaguar Self-Defense in North Carolina. So Angelica, what's new with you while we're waiting on Ranard? Anything going on?
Yes, actually, because we're in a different climate, it's not new to you guys, but it's new to us. Is officially all of our snow is gone, except on the mountains. So that is a big deal. Big deal. Snow's gone. Woo!
Now, does it ever get hot where you're at?
Yeah, for about a month, it gets like in the 90s, and that's when all the forest fires happen. So we've got like blizzard, and then mud, and then fires. That's how our seasons go.
You all have so it gets so hot that you all have a fire season.
Well, yeah, because we're in evergreen state, so it's like a big tinderbox. So if lightning or a little campfire goes out, it'll burn like hundreds and thousands of acres within a day. So you always have to be ready to evacuate during the summer. They got like they'll have like code 1, 2, and 3. 1 is like have your stuff ready, in case you want to pack up your truck. And then by the time you get to 3, it's just get in the truck and go. Yeah, so we have that every summer.
Remember when Gatlinburg burnt down? Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful town that everyone wants to go to. It's an absolutely amazing vacation destination. And just like the whole thing burnt down, I don't know what percentage of it. I'm not going to try to make it up, but a large part of it burnt down, and it was just amazing. It was all, what's the word? I was in awe watching it on television. And we had some similar stuff in Florida. You were probably here then when we had like the highways just burned down all down 95.
Right.
Forever. I don't know how long that seemed like forever. But so what's new in the world of Christianity, right? What's going on?
Yeah.
Any new revelations your way?
So nothing new as in how much we've been paying attention, because I think we're kept up to date. But just a reminder how close we're getting to the 73 anniversary coming up May 14th. I was thinking about that the last couple of days. May 14th, 1948 is when Israel became a nation again. So that's what, like 3 weeks away? I mean, we don't want to be date setters, obviously, but we're also told to watch. So I feel like we need a pack for a long cruise.
I have a lot of friends that were, religious before me. They were Christians before me. But they seem to be, most of them, or a lot of them, seem to be living pretty normal lives focused on typical day-to-day stuff for what was normal for me 10 years ago. They seem to be just living their life, working towards goals. And, I'm a new Christian, which kind of makes me a somewhat fanatical Christian, right? Like I'm reading Revelation, and the amazing thing to me is we're at the 6,000 year mark. We're right at the 1,000 years of, Christ's reign on earth, right? Like this is the precipice right here. And you've got all these revelations, just like you just said about, Israel being, made a nation again. And you had, remember there was a thing where he said, I think they said it was like the Nephilim were going to be bound for like 70 generations or something like that. And if you take the average length of a generation, which is 120 years, we're on that as well. It's like everything in the Bible is coming up to essentially this decade, right? And with all the weirdness that's going on, it's really hard to look past any of this.
I think you have to purposely make excuses not to connect the dots. Like you have to purposely want to be in naive land to not see what's going on. Like you have to actually put energy to, yeah.
Willingly ignorant, right? That's what it says in the Bible,
Right.
willingly ignorant. I try to wake up, you know, I try every day to wake up someone, and you do too. You're probably more so than me. You know, I've had people that I still consider friends that have kind of, you know, literally called me a nut job. Like they've said, you know, you're a nut job, right? And I'm like, wow, man. You know, you have lots of friends that are Christians. You know, I don't know what percentage of the world. It's got to be 40, 50% that are Christian. Some large number. You think they're all nut jobs? You know, I'm just, if anything, just a believer, you know, like just a true believer. That's all, you know. But it is wild, you know, how easily they can think that all this matter in the world came out of a infinitesimal speck, but there can't be a creator. You know, it's like when you look at science, it's pretty loony if you really sit back and look at it as a Christian.
Right. I think some of the simplest explanations I've seen for that is like some street preachers and stuff, because you know they have to contend with every single objection there is. And I've seen a few street preachers show intricate paintings like of the Mona Lisa or stuff, or take out the Rolex watch and just, you know, to tell the people that they're speaking to, oh, this Mona Lisa, I just splashed some paint on there and this is what came out. And they look at it, I'm like, dude, you're stupid. Well, then look around at birds or your own body, your eyeball, right? And how could someone just have thrown gallons of paint and then the Mona Lisa appear, but yet you know you think that's ludicrous. It's just yeah, like you said, you have to distance yourself. There has to be such a cognitive distance in order to assume that we were not created.
Yeah. It's and it's so easy once you look. If you just, for me, once I went out and looked, it was so easy. Like there was a million things you can look at. There's so many things that are just beyond chance, and it's intelligent design, you know. And then you start reading the Bible, everything matches up, and yeah, it's some wild stuff. You know, since we are a group of arguably MMA fighters, you know, I had one fight, you know, I might be able to squeak myself in there as an MMA fighter. Barely, right? But I do have quite a few years of jiu-jitsu. But so let's switch gears and talk about martial arts for a second. Because did you watch the Ben Askren Jake Paul fight? Did you?
Here's the deal. I have not, because I'm about a week behind everyone, just because I don't have TV and anything I have is on my phone because I'm in the boondocks. So I have not, but I will accept any spoilers as to what happened.
You will accept spoilers.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, good. Because you know, you're not missing anything. And honestly, it's like you're probably more mature than anyone else signing up to watch the crap show. You know, it's a freak show, right? Like,
right.
Askren is a phenomenal wrestler, but he was never a good striker. And I'm sure he did it for the money, right? Like Askren's not, you know, he didn't make a killing in the UFC. He, you know, this is a pretty good payday for him, but I'd love to see someone like one of the Diaz brothers go up against Jake Paul. I have.
So, is that under the assumption that Askren lost then, right?
Oh, sorry. In the first round, miserably, he got dropped hard. He didn't make it the whole, you know, which makes me more proud of my first MMA fight. I went further than Ben. So, but yeah, he looked pretty bad. You know, he kind of came out there shades of Bobby Thompson. Wasn't really prepared for the striking game, you know. But you know, I'll share another story with you real quick. You'll get a kick out of this, Angelica. Many years ago, probably, oh my gosh, this had to be. Oh, there's Ranard. Wait, let's add him into the game here.
Man, I got so caught up with I'm reading about or listening to how the King James Bible was created and all the players.
Look at Ranard just coming in like a bull with his horns out.
He don't mess around, does he? He just jumps right into it. He's like, dude, this is what we're talking about.
Oh, no.
This is what it is.
Hi, Angelica.
Hey, is there anything you want to talk about today?
What's that thing they do in Mexico where they let the bulls run down the road? Right? That's Ranard.
The running of the bulls. There you go.
That's right. The running of the Ranard.
No, so I got Thompson. Sorry, man. This is just fascinating stuff. I don't do anything else, man, except for just research more of the Christianity's history, and I'm looking at different perspectives from it. Everyone's on notice, man. The apostles, man, Jesus, the Bible itself, everything, man. And I'm just like soaking it all in. So this has been a fun thing, fun experience, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know where you're coming from right now, because a lot of people throw shade on Christianity. And I think that's by, the one thing that became, and Ranard, we were talking about this, but I'll summarize it again. One thing that's undeniable to me, and I mean, it is the most evident thing when the veil was lifted, was that we're in a demonic war, right? And the entities are demonic. When you look at Pizzagate and you look at adrenochrome and you look at child sacrifice, right? And this the giving the children to Moloch through the fire. And when you look at what all's going on, and I believe in all that, I do. I was a huge WikiLeaks guy, and I think we're in a religious war, and I think it's and just like they said, this is Satan's domain. So when you see that, and you see all this symbolism, you see satanic symbolism everywhere. It's in everything, right? And that's something you can't deny. It tells me that the people in power, and they're the adversary, right? That's the principalities of darkness,
right?
So that for me is a huge confirmation, and I know that everything I read, they're trying to taint the Bible. They're trying to throw shade on it, and they're good at it. They got the best minds in the world, right? Like, they've got money, they've got access to geniuses, they've got access to people who will sell out. And so I always keep that in mind with everything I read, is that there's people are trying to throw shade on Christianity for sure.
Yeah.
I think in general, how they say whoever wins the war is the one who writes the history book.
Yep.
And so I think we have to ask ourselves, did Christianity win the war? And I would say not yet. So I think some of the history books are written from an opposition standpoint. We already won, futuristic, but not, like you said, the landlord of this world is Satan. God's the owner, but Satan's the landlord. He's running the show right now. So I would say some of the history books are written from the winners or the supposed winners' perspective, which is not Christians. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Oh, so let me we'll pause this real quick. I'm gonna go back to the story I was sharing with Angelica, and then we'll come right back to this. And Ranard,
sorry, guys.
No, it's good. We're gonna run with it. Ranard, I think I told you this story. You let me know if I did or didn't. But Angelica, I think you'll get a kick out of it. Back when I was a purple belt, which would have been like 2009 or 10 or something like that, I went to a tournament in California with Master Luis, and I was helping him ref. And there was a couple Gracies there, like, I don't remember, but it was like, it was like Hida and Henner's younger brother. I can't remember his name at the time. And there was a couple black belts. One of the Diaz brothers was there. Helson was there. Master Luis was there. Well, that night, we go to Helson's hotel room, and we're there, and he's drinking. The cops come, they knock on the door twice. He's really loud. I mean, it's loud, right? And Helson's, he's a character. He's drinking, he's loud, stuff's banging all over the place. The cops came twice. They knew who Helson was. So they're like, look, this, we've told you twice. If we have to tell you again, we're actually gonna have to take you to jail. We respect you, we know who you are. But I'm like, okay, so the cops leave, and I'm like, well, it's probably time for me to go. So I don't want to be there when that happens. So I walk out of the hotel, out of his hotel room, and I'm going to my hotel room, and it's like between 12 and 1 in the morning on like a Friday or Saturday night. And now I'm jacked at the time. Right now I'm like 170, but I was like 215 of muscle, right? I was taking some supplements and whatnot. And I'm walking down the hallway, and I see this dude walking down the hallway, and he's mean mugging, right? And he's walking in the middle of the hallway. And when I say the middle, I mean the middle. Like, I'm a grown man. Give me some room too, dude. Move to your side. Well, he didn't want to. He wanted to walk right down the middle. So I'm like, screw it. I'm going to walk right down the middle, right? So as he starts getting, within a little bit, 20 feet or so, it's one of the Diaz brothers. I can't tell them apart to this day. I don't know, but it's one of them, right? So I threw my shoulder, we threw our shoulders in each other, right? Kind of like bump shoulders. Oh shit, it's going down. I turned around, looked at him. We gave each other the stink eye, kind of turned around, walked the other way. We both walked our own way. So he didn't, I don't know if he obviously wouldn't know who I am for sure. I was pretty jacked. He knew that. I was bigger than him at the time, but the next night, we wrapped up the tournament, and then we all eat dinner, and there's like Helson Gracie, Master Luis, a whole bunch of black belts, affiliated under Helson, and the Diaz brothers were sitting right across from me. And the one I bumped shoulders with, we just kept looking at each other like, yeah, motherfucker. Oh, sorry. That was the mindset back then. I am trying to reduce my, but that's the story, right? Like, so I almost got into it with one of the Diaz brothers. We bumped shoulders. That was it. That was my story. I thought it was funny.
So at the beginning of your account, I can't help but think of the mindset of the police officer called to the hotel, like knowing his training is not going to be sufficient if he's not cooperative.
Yeah, well, and there was a whole bunch of dudes that were my size in the room. There was probably like 6 or 7. Helson was the patriarch, obviously. Well, and Master Luis was certainly a patriarch. But then you had 4 or 5 pretty jacked dudes who were obviously jiu-jitsu fighters, right? So, but they were super respectful. Obviously, the cops were like, "Hey, no problem, but can you guys keep it down?" So, it was good fun times. Which, one more thing along this line before we go back into religion and some of what Ranard was talking about is years ago. Do you remember a fighter named War Machine? Either of y'all?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man, I was just watching the documentary today on YouTube. It's free. It's called The Case of John Copenhaver. That was his real name, John Copen. Dude, this dude was psycho. He was a psycho roided nut job who just went around beating the crap out of people, man. Yeah. And he beat this girl, this petite little girl he was dating. He broke 13 bones in her body, broke her ribs. He broke her orbital. He knocked 12 of her teeth out. He fractured her skull. He raped her. You got to watch that, man. This is a wild documentary. This dude was nuts. He was just goes around beating up bar bouncers and flaking out on people. Watch that documentary if you get a chance. It is gripping.
It's do I have reverberation on my voice?
You don't. For the first time, you sound perfect.
Oh, I can hear I can hear some feedback, like.
Yeah, I got feedback on.
That is so weird because this is the first time you're coming in clear, Angelica. It's
wow,
all the times we've been on.
So I think fighters like War Machine are the exact reasons why fighters need to have blood work done before their events. No, you're like, I know I'm gonna exchange body fluids with this guy, and I'm hoping at least one of those diseases are screened beforehand.
Yeah, the dude he's nuts. He was totally unhinged, and they show it. They show all these videos. He was posting YouTube videos. I mean, the dude was unhinged, right? Like, he's the reason I train nut jobs like that, right? Like those people are out there, and it's sad that they're doing what we're doing, and they're all, they're the worst thing that could happen for jiu-jitsu, right, is to have a guy like that out there who's trained in jiu-jitsu.
I think too that puts a heavier call on coaches to be able to turn people away. Sometimes coaches like, yeah, I'll train everyone, but sometimes you just gotta be like, no, dude, you really don't fit our team. You gotta bounce.
I did that recently. There was a guy who, let's just say that he was affiliated with a very, very well internationally known gang, and he was pretty much like the hitman type dude that goes and enforces, whatever they need to enforce. And so he wanted me to, train him, like straight up MMA, boxing, jiu-jitsu, judo, everything. And then when I caught wind of it, I was like, shit, man, this guy is not. I said, I already know what he's intending to do, man. I said, literally any and everything that I show this guy is going to be used against some poor defenseless other person, or let's just say someone else who's less skilled than they are. And I was just like, no, dude. I said, go do privates somewhere else with another person right here. I said, see if this guy will train you. And that was the end of it.
Do you guys remember that movie? I can't remember what it's called, but it had something with Gopher Chucks on it. Do you remember? It was like a, it was a martial arts spoof movie, and it had bad what do you call it, voiceovers and stuff as a joke. And one of the students, the instructor says, "We teach him wrong on purpose as a joke." Ah ha ha ha. And so that would be, if you invite one of those guys in, just teach him wrong purpose.
No, I don't remember that
one.
Yeah,
I think like that. I mean,
you're gonna have to just look up Gopher Chucks and you'll see it.
What is it?
Gopher Chuck.
There was a line in there about Gopher Chucks. It's a martial arts.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
It's like literally nunchucks, but with gophers on them instead of nunchucks.
Sounds like Kung Pao or something.
Yeah, something like that. But they teach this one student wrong on purpose as a joke.
Gopher Chuck. Yeah. Some people. There are certain people who shouldn't. Who really shouldn't have that skill set. And I tell these kids, I'm like, look, man, you guys got like superpowers. I say, you can literally walk into any building knowing that you can take out literally every person there. Like if it's a one-on-one combative type of thing, I said, you can be the one person who can wipe out everyone else. I said, and that comes with, a sense of responsibility, knowing that, just because you can do something doesn't mean you have to do it. And when you get people who are, drinking, doing some drugs, maybe, cycling some things, man, and their brains are just not where they should be, that's when problems happen, man. Like, I saw BJ Penn got rocked. I watched a couple of his, like, man, that's just sad. That the
street fights. He keeps getting in street fights with bar bouncers, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't look like it's working out for him.
But all right, yeah, I had a story. I'm gonna private message you, Angela, and ask you if you know this name or if you ever trained with this person.
Okay, I'm ready.
Dang it! Am I on the wrong key? Oh, I am. You know that guy? Do you know that name?
Yes. Yeah, I haven't worked with him personally, but the teams that I've trained with have worked with him.
Yeah. So, out of respect for him, and I think we buried the hatchet, but I was training at a school, and I was teaching at a school, and he was teaching at a school. He was teaching the stand up, and I was teaching he was teaching like Muay Thai, and I was teaching jiu-jitsu, and he had an idea for opening a school in another, a neighboring town. So we went there and we opened the school. And I didn't know it, I didn't know he was in dire straits, but it turns out he's, found out he's living in the school. And then, man, within 2 months, we have like 30 students, right? And then, but he's supposed to be collecting money and the money's not showing up, right? I'm like, hey man, where's the money? Oh, well, these people didn't pay, but I call every student. They all said they paid. So I go to, and it just, oh man, it went bad. I don't want to, we haven't said his name obviously, and hopefully but it got ugly. Let me tell you how ugly it got. I'm just going to sum it up. Me and my wife were at the school, mopping up, and he showed up with like 90% of the students. I don't like 25 guys or something, and like circled me and my wife. I'm not even joking. Like just,
what?
I'm not joking. And he's like, yeah, I'm taking the school. Mind you, I financed it 100%. I was the sole financer. And I said, no, you're not. I said, you're not actually, the opposite's happening. You're not taking the school. And I'm like, you've been stealing from the school. The money is not there. And I verified it. I called all these people. They said they paid you. They said they paid you, but none of it. So anyway, him and I ended up being enemies for a while. And, he was a phenomenal fighter. The guy was a really good fighter. But yeah, it was bad blood, and there was some stuff that went on there, but we almost got into that night. I said, hey, if that's what we got to do, if we got to throw down right now, we can throw down right now. We can just squash it right here now. But it ended up, he went his way, I went my way, and we saw each other a few times, kind of gave each other the stink eye, but that was, God, that's over 10 years ago. That's probably 12 years ago or something like that. But he was in a gang, and he was a man at arms in like, I think he said Hell's Angels or something like this, like some big, I found this all out later. And I found out he was wanted in a few states, right? Like I found out that this guy was wanted by the police, and he was in Florida ducking them. So he had some issues going on too. He wouldn't have surprised me if, I don't know if you know this. I saw him on the news, like a few years later, and he got in a shootout in a bar.
The same guy you just messaged?
Same guy. He got in a shootout. Yeah, he shot some people in a bar, or at least shot at them. I don't know if he hit them or not. I can't remember. My mind's that gray. But I actually didn't see it. Technically, I didn't see it in the news. I had a few friends tell me, "Did you see him on the news? He was on the news. He got in a shootout, right?" With his gang, as part of a biker gang. So, yeah, super interesting there.
Huh.
But yeah, so that guy was walking a tightrope as well. He had some mental issues going on, but
whoa,
they're out there. And I've had to eject a black belt out of my school before. You know that story, Ranard.
Yes.
That's never easy when you have to eject someone. I had to eject someone that outranked me.
Yeah, but not legitimately outranked.
He technically outranked me. He did have more stripes on his belt, but
that's a lot of coaches or business owners lose their discernment and their backbone as their school grows, because each student has to contribute to the overall success of a gym. And let's be honest, being a gym owner, you're literally like a starving artist, but you're a starving martial artist in most cases. And so many people aren't willing to get rid of a few bad apples, which is the bad thing, because they want to keep the numbers up. But yeah, I'm appreciative of gym owners that can weed out people and not be so swayed by a monthly tuition.
Yeah, that's you got to handle that. That's cancer, right? When you let that one person in your school, I let that slide too long. And like if I were to go back in time, the moment I recognize someone I would cut them out. I would cut out that cancer immediately. Like that's something I learned. And you would sweep it under the rug for them for whatever reason. They're a good fighter, or they're good in competition. You can't do that.
Or they have potential.
Yeah, right. It doesn't matter if they don't bring the right energy. You got to get them out immediately, because they will push people away. Marcelo did that. Marcelo Garcia did that with Dylan Dennis, right? Like Dylan was a phenomenal grappler, a phenomenal fighter, and Marcelo's like, you bring in the wrong energy, man. You can't be in my school. He kicked him out.
Well, and what's crazy is, as adults and as parents, we expect our children or growing children. I know your daughter's still younger. My son's 21, 2. I don't know how old he is.
My gosh,
21.
Angelica, how old are you?
I'm 41.
Wow. Okay, cool.
I know.
You're a young
Well,
mom.
level 41 is what I like to say. Get
right.
not
Right.
yeah, level 41, and then I got 2 teenage boys too, and then I'm looking at my younger daughters, and I expect them that if there's a dude, for my daughters that's kind of not of my approval, I want / expect them to be like, you know what, you're not that good for me right off the bat. But often as adults, we are not willing to, or we're not convicted enough to tell people, yeah, you're not right for this team. You're not right for my end goal. But yet we expect our kids to be able to do that. So yeah, I really appreciate when people have that ability just to cut people off for less dramatic reasons. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. No, that's you've got to do that. You have to do it. And if you're good about that, your school will grow as a result of it. You got to culture that atmosphere. So now you're on a reserve, Angelica, which is interesting because I didn't even know like non-Indians could live on a reserve, right? You are on a reserve, is that right?
Yeah, I'm on the reservation, but my house, our farm is on a deeded reservation, which means some of the reservation can only be bought by Native Americans, and then our farm, like they allot so many thousands of acres or whatever that can be purchased by non-Native Americans, and so that's what we have.
Yeah.
But so we still have to follow reservation law.
Okay. Yeah, I meant reservation. Thank you.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. It's interesting. I never thought about that. Like, never even thought about that as an option in life. How did you end up on, like, what made you? Did you just find it like coincidentally, or was this a plan for you? Like, how did you end up on a reserbation?
No. So okay. So I'll be completely transparent. When Roger and I were looking for a house, we were fresh out here from Florida, so we had like a month of job history. We used up all our down payment to move out here and all that. So we had this big array of houses we were interested on the realtors thing, and then they were like, well, this requires this much down. So we're like, nope, that eliminates these. Like, okay, well, this is going to require this much monthly income. Nope, so we just eliminated, and then we got down, well, here's the only one you qualify for. And so we're like, all right, we'll take it. And it turned out to be such a blessing. Like, we're in picturesque mountain. Now you have to survive the winter, and you have to deal with a lot of wildlife, which, if you're on vacation, wildlife's great. But if you live here and you're like, yeah, I think a bear just got our chickens, yeah, that's a little different. But if you can rough it and lower your need for in-town services, it is heaven on earth.
Now, when you say a bear, are we talking just black bears, or are we talking about grizzly bears?
Okay, so my neighbor has grizzly paw prints down at her place, and our neighbor's about like 3/4 of a mile away. Like, I can see her roof from my house, but we've only had black bears on our trail cams and stuff, but we're talking like 20 feet from the girls' bedroom window, just kind of snooping around. And yeah. So I hope no grizzly. And then, yeah, there's been some non-native wolves introduced in this like couple mile radius too, which that's not all that cool either.
So do you all like carry guns around, like just walking around, or?
There's like one in each bedroom. Yeah.
You can be like going to get in the car and become like grizzly food.
Oh, it's true. No, it very much is true. So whenever you go outside, you always want to make sure there's no shiny eyes. Because, I mean, it could be something as little as a skunk or something as big as a cougar. Yeah, no, very much true.
There's a video on YouTube of a guy running circles around a car in the snow. I'm assuming it's Alaska, and a polar bear is chasing him. Have you seen that video?
I have, and I've seen the one where people were trying to get inside the like safety capsule tube. Yeah, no, they'll.
What?
We learned the first year here that if you go grocery shopping, you cannot leave groceries in the truck. Like they will tear your junk up.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine that. Like Renard, if you haven't seen that video, who is that? Is that me?
Yeah, yeah, I think so, dude.
Sorry.
Maybe you won something.
I thought that was one of you all. I'm like, okay. Yeah, if you haven't seen that video, what the heck happened? I was good, and now I've got an echo. No, it went away. Okay. If you haven't seen that video, okay, good. If you haven't seen that video, there's this dude in Alaska somewhere, and he's just running circles around his truck as fast as he can, and a polar bear is trying to eat his ass, right? Like there's a polar bear running around that truck, and the video ends. It doesn't show you how it ends. Like it just stops with him. At least the ones that I've seen, it just stops with him running around the truck. And that's probably the most scared a human can be, right? Like for me, I know that would be like the most terrifying thing that could happen.
Oh yeah, here it is. Polar bear chases photographer.
You want to talk about being terrified?
What's crazy is that for all the predators out here, you seriously have to know them well enough to know their attack method. Like a bear can swim and climb and run, and then we've got mountain lions out here that caught some on our trail cam. When I say trail cam, like 20, 30 feet from our house, you know. So you got mountain lions that hide in the trees, and then they are quiet as can be. And then you've got like digging stuff and flying. Man, it's crazy. You can't just go lollygag through the woods because you'll be just a walking chicken nugget. You got to look up, down, and around.
Like, I mean, you have to have a weapon on you, right?
Yes.
Where you live, you have to.
And like bear spray too, which the bears are out of hibernation now. So like the bear spray is like this high-powered mace that goes about like 30, 40 feet. Because like if you bring a 22 or something with you, it's not gonna do anything to a bear just because their skulls are so you have to have like a bear mace spray handy because they'll just charge, and then you have to keep your eyes up in the trees for the mountain lions too.
No, I think I could take a mountain lion with like a knife or something, you know. I don't know. There's an echo. I don't know if it's one. If one of you can turn, I don't know, Renard, is your volume real loud? I'm just curious. I'm curious if it's your volume. It may be. Did you turn it down? Turn down your volume real quick, just for a second. I'm just curious.
I put mine on mute so you wouldn't even hear anything.
Hello. I think that's.
Can you hear mine?
I think, and that's why I wear just FYI, that's why I wear headphones, because sometimes what's coming out the speakers goes in your microphone. Like, so I notice on most shows, the guys will wear headsets. That way you can't have any reverberation, but something to think about if you get a set of headsets. But
is it mine?
No,
it's good now. Like maybe when you're not talking, hit mute. You know, that I think that'll do it.
Right.
Hey, does it sound weird with my voice?
No, there's nothing. It sounds clear as can be.
All right.
Yours sounds fine to me.
All right, cool. Yeah, I was looking at that video of the man. He ended up getting 100 stitches.
Yeah, dude, he was almost lunch.
Yeah, he got a little bit of he got tagged a little bit, man, but yeah, he survived.
Yeah, that's what, if I lived where Angela lived, like where there's grizzly bears walking in your yard, I'd have a desert eagle on me at all times. I'm not gonna risk that. Like,
oh yeah, I totally. I was gonna buy some land out in just like out in the backwoods of North Carolina, and we're in there. Me and my old business partner are in there, and I'm like, dude, there's something. Whether it's mountain lions or possibly if it's not mountain lions, then it might be a bear or something. I said, but dude, I'm packing. And then I was just like, crap, I forgot my damn like the good gun, you know, like my 45 with the hollow tips. Dude, I had a bullshit or a BS 380, and I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna kill with this thing. It's just like, you know, but to my little benefit, there were hollow points, but it's still, man, I'm like,
Yeah, you shoot a
I'm
bear.
essentially done. I need to have like a straight up like kill shot in order for me to survive.
And you know, on those lines, I'm talking about. We got some reverberation going on. So along those lines, there we go. It's gone. Along those lines of we were talking about where we would live. You know, and Angelica, you're always, certainly when it comes to me, and I can't speak for Ranard, but I know you're certainly much better versed in the Bible than me. I'm trying to catch up, but it's never going to happen. But doesn't it say in the Bible? I think there's two things it says in the Bible. One is it says, there goes that echo again. One is it says we should live by the sea, or live by the water. And then two, I think it says like when stuff goes south, like head for the hills, right? Aren't those two things in the Bible? Like one, you should live by the sea or the ocean, and then, but like during the end of times, you should head for the forest or the hills or something to that extent.
Is the echo me? I just took my mute off.
Oh, I don't know. You're not, like when you talk, you're not echoing. So
Okay. So the head for the hills is specifically for the Jews that are in Israel, that are in Jerusalem. Yeah. So that'll be exactly at the 3.5-year mark. The Antichrist will sit inside the temple, declare himself God, and from that point
That's
on,
right.
Yeah, the mark of the beast, and it says,
remember.
And what's awesome is that there'll be provision provided to the Jews, and I can't remember which mountain range it is, but it says, don't even go down in your house, don't go to collect your coat or anything, just run to the hills, and I'll provide for you there. And what's awesome is some of the archaeological expeditions, have said that they've buried Bibles in Hebrew in that mountain range and some other provisions. So obviously we know God will provide through divine intervention, but there's already been some excavation and whatnot that's happened that has provided the supplies there. So when they flee to those mountains, because don't forget, in the Sabbath and stuff, the gates will be closed, and it's a walled city, you know, not like here where if you want to flee, you can flee, but the city's walled. So if you get stuck inside, you're stuck inside basically with the Antichrist, and you'll be forced to take the mark right then and there.
So right now, I'm like, my goal is to get out of the city. I'm in the city, and I've been trying to find a way to get out. Like, unfortunately, coronavirus threw a wrench. Like right when I was getting ready to get out, I was getting ready to move to Thailand or the Philippines or Vietnam or Laos or one of those, right? I wanted to go somewhere where there's country. And I was just sick of the United States. I kind of felt like the Antichrist is here. That's honestly my feeling, right? But the more I come to believe that we're not getting these liberties back, and that the only way you'll be able to travel again is with a vaccine passport, and that's not gonna happen. So I kind of have ruled out the ability. I don't think I'm gonna have the option to leave the United States at this point. Basically, that's where I'm at. And now I'm considering just move into Montana or one of the Dakotas or something like that. Like, you're on mute.
Yeah, so
you're still on mute.
Definitely.
Sorry.
Okay, if you can reduce your need for most comforts that we're used to, you can live in one of those places. Where people go wrong is they think I'm just going to live in the country, but they can't give up so many of the creature comforts that they think are necessary, or they're not willing to go back to kind of Little House on the Prairie days where, for some people that's, yes, it's a simplistic life, but people think, oh, I'm going to live in the country, I'll start a garden, and they've never survived a day without a dishwasher and Netflix. But yeah, you've got the right mindset, and I would definitely say if you're stuck in the city, we don't get raptured out before we see a little bit of not the tribulation, but tribulations. If you're stuck there, you may have to become a martyr on some of those hills. But the country will definitely give you more time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Renard? Did you have something?
Oh yeah, Crone Gracie moved to Montana, I believe.
He did. Well, I think he's like right down the road. Wait a minute. Jason Backlund moved. I can't remember where he moved. I want to say Colorado. And so he's right down the road from Halleck Gracie. That's what it was. I didn't know Crone moved to Montana. That's interesting.
Yeah, because if you go to cronegracie.com, you'll just see where it says Crone Gracie, Montana, now open. So the current location, where they're holding classes, I don't believe that that's in session right now. I think they single-handedly destroyed all the gyms in California, and so it's going to be a barren wasteland, along with New York City. And it's really unfortunate because people can't see what the hell's going on and how all their liberties and freedoms, man, are just being pissed away, and no one's standing up for themselves either. So.
9 out of 10 people just want to do what the government. They just want to be a good, they think they're doing the right thing. Like, that's the irony. They're like, hey, just let the government provide for us. They're looking out for us. And I don't know if I was ever that naive. That's amazing to think that people just blindly, and in theory, you're supposed to, because in theory, the people running the government are good people that you elected that are supposed to be looking out for you. And they've got this great job and great pay, and they're doing, they should be so thankful for what they've got, right? They've got their salary the rest of their lives, and they're not. Instead, they're just sellouts, becoming worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They've sold their soul to the devil, and they're hurting us in every way possible. And most people have no clue how demonic this is, like to the levels. Like, I think the average person would just have a breakdown if they even contemplated what people like me, and I'm sure Angelica and Renard, you're there too, believe, like what we believe is going on. I'm pretty extremist on this, right? I've seen, Bohemian Grove. I've seen at CERN where they killed a girl. I've seen these videos, and could they be fake? Maybe. I don't think they are. I don't. They look real, but it's not just one or two. It's when you look deep, there's many, right? I mean, Angelica, I'll turn it to you, and then Renard. What are your all's thoughts on this? How demonic is this that we're talking about? Like, how far down this, how much of this conspiracy road do you think is true? When we say we're battling against demons, like, let's hear your point of view on this.
So I know that I can only, and I say this with a broken heart, because for my own, I guess, sanity or ability to function, I can only observe or listen to testimony or confession for so long until I have to break away and cry and pray, because it is so dark, so arrogant, so systematic, the evil. And when I have survivor's guilt from that, and I in the sense of when I hear what's going on, or you see these confessions, I look at my own children, my own life, and say, how am I so, I want to say sheltered, so blessed that my own children or myself was not one of these abused victims, right? Like how am I not in their shoes? What makes me so special, so preserved, so protected? Because there's nothing different from you or me versus these little babies, these toddlers, these 8-year-old boys that are having their organs harvested. Why them and not me, right? So that guilt just gets to me,
Yeah.
and the helplessness, because whenever I allow myself, a lot of amount of time, I learned that the hard way. I can't look at these videos or whatnot for a day straight. I can't function after that. But when I look at these videos and stuff, I think, God, send me. What do I need to do to help? And it seems like such a world apart from, I mean, of course you can do small things and little things, and you can do prevention. Like you can be there to help prevent, let's say, a teenage girl or a preteen from getting trafficked or whatnot. You know, we can all help in those ways to prevent. But I feel like the ones that are already so deep in the demonic, they're victims of this. I feel like how is our arms aren't long enough to reach them, right? Like how can we possibly help them? And then I know for me as an adult to have to turn away, my face might shut it off for a little bit so that I can function. I think I'm leaving these poor little babies, right? These babies in there. So how can I expect these children to have to endure what I can't even observe, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it reduces my faith to the core, like to the rock bottom foundation of, I completely understand and want to avenge. Like I don't know how a righteous God hasn't burned the earth already. Honest, you know, like oh my goodness, you know, especially when you look at the innocence of your own children and you think, to what lengths would you go to rescue your child? And then if you couldn't rescue your child and you knew these things were happening to them, I think it would seem the only relief would be suicidal, right? To
Yeah.
know that your
But then you've
child
committed a sin, right?
yeah like
catch too.
I can't comprehend the level of demonic activity. And here's what's crazy: to know that that's he's being restrained right now by the Holy Spirit. So that's what it's like with the Holy Spirit holding him back, because we're told that when the tribulation will start once the restrainer is removed. So if that's how bad it is now, I can't even imagine how bad it's going to be when that that speed bump isn't there. It's incomprehensible, really.
So Ranard, what are your thoughts on this subject? As far as how far down are you in what's feasible or what's going on as far at a demonic level? You know, like I think I'm on the same level with Angelica. Like what's going on? That stuff. I think there's kids that are being tortured, literally, probably daily in multiple sites, in the most heinous manner imaginable, because that is what puts the most amount of adrenochrome into the blood, and that's what they want, right? Like if they can flay the skin off a 3-year-old child, that's what they do. Whatever, and this is depicted on churches, right? Like they show priests holding down babies. You know, this is on churches. I don't get it. Like but they're Roman Catholic churches. They keep that in mind. And another thing I learned, and I'm sorry, Ranard, I am directing it at you, the question to you, but I learned that a lot of the churches in Europe that depict this were actually pagan buildings for pagan, that the Roman Catholic Church basically just repurposed all these pagan buildings as churches. But again, so what, like, you know, what are your thoughts about all that?
Well, I don't put anything past anyone. I do believe that anyone can do literally anything, given the right conditions and environment. So for people to say that I'll never kill, that's a lie. You can imagine a scenario in which someone will. When I think about society as a whole, I do believe that we're highly egotistical, and we'll stop at nothing to feed our needs, our own selfish needs, and forego the needs of other human beings. So if it means that a Newsweek article is talking about, hey, does youth blood contribute to the fountain, to keep you younger? Well, what kind of message is that sending? Was it you that someone sent me? Actually, I have it. Newsweek on the cover. Now I'm only going by, an actual, image that was sent to me on a Newsweek magazine cover that was sent to me, snapped and then sent to me. And the idea is that, hey, does youth blood, which is adrenochrome, contribute to you being, does it contribute to, like this fountain of youth? It's like, what kind of message is that sending, and who's the receiver of this message? And so there's a boldness that is running rampant now. You can literally say and do anything you want, assuming that you have the power and authority to do it. It's like, hey, anything that we can think and say, let's do it. What's that? Celine Dion became incredibly demonic with her clothing. And people thought that this was just, it's just a one-off. It's like, no, this is just a test to see how receptive people are going to be to the crap that they're going to put out there. It's like, all right, well, we didn't get a negative backlash on this, or people are okay with it. And it's just, you can keep pushing the envelope. And so I don't believe that the envelope has been pushed enough. I have this saying, and I keep saying, and I write it occasionally on my Facebook page. I will say, only when people suffer is when they begin to think. People haven't suffered enough, man. I think we need to get to a point where it is so blatantly obvious, which to us it is, but to other people, it's not. I think bodies need to drop. People need to suffer. People need to be uncomfortable. And then that's when they'll finally get the notion like, hey, maybe something's not right. But until then, I expect this experience to get worse. I expect societal norms to pretty much plummet into like this deplorable state, man. I don't have faith in the human race right now, man. And the more I realize that we're such a secular world, the less faith and confidence I have. Now there's an integration of, hey, let's see if we can integrate humans and technology. Big mistake. But people are going to go with it just because they are under the belief that they're going to have knowledge.
Yeah, almost every show right now on Netflix, Prime, HBO Max, whatever, it's all about transhumanism. It's like the leading shows on all of them are all crossover of some type of technology in the brain, or but here's how far down I am that this whole I believe all this happens to the extent that, like Angelica was saying, and that to the extent that they're extracting adrenochrome from children by killing them in the most heinous imaginable way. Like I have dreams that like God will make me like like Gabrielle, or like he'll basically give me the power to go out there and execute all these people, right? Like he'll give me wings and a sword and go have at it, right? Like that's which that's how bad my memory is. I don't know which angel. I don't remember if it's Gabriel or if it's Michael.
Yeah, Michael's the angel of war. Gabriel's the messenger.
Yeah, Gabriel. Like, hey, sign me up with them. Give me an axe and give me the powers to go execute these people. I would love to be the one, dropping heads.
Which is crazy when people, because when we're new, fresh on the Bible, we typically hear this verse that the God of the Old Testament is vengeful, and then the God of the New Testament is merciful, when he's the Alpha, the Omega, he's the beginning and the end, he never changes, he's the same God. But usually when people think of the God of the Old Testament as being vengeful and warmongering, it's because they haven't read it, and everything that's happening to our children now was happening then. And so every parent, every adult, all of us would chop someone's head off in an instant if you saw them doing that to a child, right? Like, we wouldn't even think twice, like whether you go down in the flames or not.
Right?
Yeah, and so
alive, throwing a baby in fire,
in fire, right? The organ harvesting. If you look at all the Egyptian hieroglyphics with the eye, it's the shape of the pineal gland.
Yeah.
Like, they've been doing this forever, and so for us as normal, whatever that word means, normal adults, to willingly venge a child, then you can understand, because every time that God has wiped out a people's, it's been either crimes against children or an infiltration of the Nephilim. So anytime he said kill every man, woman, livestock, it's because these horrendous things were happening, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it doesn't seem like it's happening fast enough. I tell you, my God.
I think it's a process. I do. I firmly believe we're in the final stretch right now. Whether that means 6 months or 6 years, I think it's in there, right? I think it's in that range. I think it's starting now, right? Like, we're seeing signs of all this. I know people have said this in the past, but biblically, the timeline matches now as well, right? So it's not just, there's a lot of things. And then just like the prophecies of, Israel becoming a state again, and
Damascus. Yeah, because Damascus, it says it'll be destroyed in one night, and that's never happened in history. But in the last, week, 2 weeks, there's been bombings going around Damascus, like on the daily. Like that, it said it overnight it'll become a ruinous heap. Like, hello, it's happening.
Yeah, and there's a lot of tension internationally right now. Mm-hmm. Russia, we're going at it with Russia. Russia just threw out all our diplomats. They just barred like a whole bunch of American diplomats, and they threw all our diplomats out. And then what's his name? The senile old man,
Sleepy Joe.
Sleepy Joe. He's out here accusing Russia, putting sanctions on Russia for interfering with the election. And then I saw where China said that they feel like they're being ganged up on by Japan and I don't know,
Taiwan.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
There's just all kinds of weird things going on right now. All kinds of international tensions that look like we're just like on the brink of war in 10 different directions.
Yeah.
Well, and don't forget, Turkey, Russia, and Iran are the three that are going to be participating in the Gog-Magog war. So that's getting set up.
Yeah.
Wait, say that again?
Yeah, Turkey, Iran, and Russia are the three nations that are prophesied to attack Israel from the north. And that's called the Gog-Magog war. There'll be two of those wars. The first one will happen either right before or right at the beginning of the tribulation. And then the second one is Armageddon at the end of the tribulation.
Yeah. That's all in the book of Revelation, right? You're talking about right now, right, Angelica?
Yeah, Revelation and Daniel.
Yeah.
Old and new.
I'm fascinated with that. Like I have watched so many people, and most of the takes are 90% the same, right? Like when you watch different people, talk about it, there's not a whole lot of, the interpretation is pretty standard, like granted there's a few deviations, but I'm I'm fascinated with Revelation. I think there's things in there, just like when they talk about, again, for me, one of the ones I thought was really good was Babylon to America. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. You can watch it on YouTube or Prime. But man, they nailed the papacy. They nailed it. I mean, when they talk about the timeline of the papacy, and then of course you've seen the breakdown of like, Nebuchadnezzar's dream, right? Where, you have the statue and it's got, I don't know what parts are what, right? Like iron and clay and, gold and, all the different, but it's Medo-Persia and it's Greece and Rome. And it's,
And we're at the 10 toes right now.
Yeah. It's amazing. If you haven't watched that, man, Ranard, I don't know if you've watched that, but it is so good.
What is it?
It's called From Babylon to America. Because
I started. It has some animation in there, a little bit of animation. I started watching it a little bit.
Babylon and Nimrod are such key players in this. Like, in the Bible, it was Babylon that was so corrupted. It was like Babylon that raised their hand at God. It was Nimrod that said, I will build I will meet you up there, right? I will build a freaking tower and I will meet you up there. And they were sacrificing the Moloch. They were, passing the babies through the fire. And it's Babylon. You hear about Babylon mystery schools, right? Like all these different groups that are, the principalities of darkness, right? Like they came out of Babylon, right? Like theoretically, this is a war that's all continued stemming back to Babylon, right? And this is who we're still at war with, right? Like what's your take on that, Angelica?
Yeah, 100%. And I believe that is why, in reference to Babylon, we're often told to come out of her. So we're not told to avoid her. We're not told to watch out for her. We're told to come out of her, which means as a world, we are already in Babylon. And so just like you have to be reborn, you have to be born of water and a spirit. You have to be reborn, because right now we're born into the sin, the Babylon of this world. We're born in it. We have to come out of Babylon in order to not be destroyed with Babylon.
Yeah. Ranard, if you finish that, if you get time, I don't know, man, I'm telling you, it gets good.
Well.
It gets really good. Because like Babylon is such a big part of all this, right? Like, it is. And like, I don't know if in those WikiLeaks, I don't know how much you all were into those, but there were some WikiLeaks. One of them was Hillary Clinton had an email where she was asking where Nimrod's burial was. Like she wanted to find Nimrod's tomb, right? Like some people, I mean, this sounds crazy. I know it does. Supposedly Nimrod was huge. Like he was like 13 feet tall or something. He would have been a Nephilim, right? He would have been the sons of the, the angels that took women as their wives. And, it leads you to believe. Some people theorize that like he can be brought back to life, right? Like if you found him, his body would still be preserved, and maybe you could add blood to, who knows, like all this stuff reads like a comic book, but nothing's impossible with God, right? Like nothing. When you accept God and you accept angels and you accept demons and you accept that there's this war going on, all these things that we used to read like a comic book are potentially real and actually probable.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, like you said, it's probable. It's not only probable, it is, because don't forget, if we are being told about it through either Hollywood or like these little baiting news articles, it means they're already doing it. They're already have all this done, the technology, the synthetics, that's already done. We just got to be okay with it. We got to be conditioned to it. And I don't know about you, because I know your news feeds reflect whatever you've been searching or reading or what have you. But I get probably 1 or 2 a day of the suggested news articles of excavations where they found Egyptian buried cities or what have you, and they're like, oh, we found brain, not dehydrated, mummified brain cells, and da, da, da. And immediately my thought goes to how science say you literally need 2 cells from any human to create a clone. That's it, just 2 cells. And so the fact that what they suspected was Nimrod's tomb, they found out in what, 1998. Why would they not have a resurrected version of Nimrod? I mean,
exactly.
you're talking a convergence of the opening of CERN and all these alien blah blah, whatever they're portraying that as, which we know is demonic. And now that Egyptian parade they had last week of all these mummified dignitaries they literally paved the road, fresh pavement, so that these mummies can be traveled down. And that was prophesized. Well, I can't remember what town it was, like not Moab, but one of those towns that was like, whoa, that's a town near Egypt that's never mentioned. And it says that they will regather there. It's all coming to such a head that I don't suspect why it wouldn't be Nimrod. And like how the WikiLeaks with Hillary Clinton, remember that one email where she said she was going to sacrifice a chicken to Moloch? Who talks like that if you're not in a cult practicing, right?
And chicken's just one of those words in there. And it's probably a specific kind of child, right? If you go back to the code for children, pizza's one and whatever, I'm sure it's a specific type of child that they wanted to sacrifice. But if you haven't done that,
something interesting that was brought to my attention a little bit ago was biblically, when we're talking 6,000 years ago, when we're first told of Satan, he appeared as a serpent, and by the end of Revelation he's referred to as a great dragon. And it was suggested, and I haven't done enough research on it, but it was suggested that the blood sacrifices, just like the blood of, on God's side, the blood of the saints is what cries out from the ground, like when Cain killed Abel, right? The blood literally cries out from the ground. That's why we're supposed to not eat blood, that the life is in the blood, and that all these sacrifices. What's that?
Well, 2 things. First, I just read Leviticus, or I just went through the audiobook of Leviticus. I just finished that.
Yeah.
Yay. But it went into a ton of rules, and a lot of these rules I didn't know. And, like what you just said, that you are not supposed to consume the blood, right? Like that's a major sin. You're supposed to, if you have meat, you remove the blood from it. And anyone who drinks the blood is cut off from the children of Israel. You're cut off from God's people, right? Like you've cut yourself off from it. So it's like, I see, and one of the things that blows my mind about that is, this is going down a side road, and I'm not attacking a people. I hope not, I have a Filipino wife, but when I go to the Philippines and they strike you as an incredibly God-loving, God-fearing country. There are churches everywhere. They all cross their heart when they pass by one. They all have a shrine of Mary in their house, which again, that right there, you really shouldn't have a false idol. But they eat dinuguan, and it's a dish of blood. It's blood. It's like a pudding made from blood. It's called dinuguan. It's blood made into pudding, right? And I'm like, man, I'm so glad I never tried that, right? Like, cause I don't eat blood. When I did eat meat, my steaks had to be well done. I never liked a raw steak ever. And some people are like, dude, you're missing this. I'm like, dude, I don't like that. Make it like a biscuit. I want it to crunch when I.
Well, and there's a reason. So before you even read Leviticus, still in your common sense, you like something's not like, that's why we don't eat dog or horse, right? So even if you haven't read Leviticus, you still kind of know. And then the countries that eat those meats and those weird dishes on purpose. There's almost like a New Orleans type of bad juju going on with all those meats and stuff. And yeah, so the blood, literally, it says the life is in the blood. And so, I mean, think of when Jesus died, that was all the blood carries. And when Cain killed Abel, and he murdered him, and God said, your brother's blood cries out from the ground. And so from a demonic standpoint, if you think of all the blood sacrifices that had been given to Satan started off as a serpent, as a snake. And by the end of all of this, by the end of Revelation, he's grown into a dragon. And so, I mean, as much as the blood of the martyrs and the saints are reserved for God in his glory, Satan is trying to consume as many of these blood sacrifices as he can, because he knows he's going to go to battle against God. Right. He thinks he's going to win.
And imagine if he gets power from that. Like, all the things we're not supposed to do are the things that gives him power, right? And like right. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. That's all power to him when he, and he obviously thinks he can defeat God, or else none of this would be happening, or he's playing a role, it's just mind numbing to think about.
So I have a question for you guys this week. So obviously we know we're on the last few pages of Revelation, right? And we all have people that we know were left behind. I don't know about y'all, but I think about it daily, probably hourly. Like, I could be going on any minute, right? Yes, that's perfect.
I'm listening.
And so I think that obviously we're supposed to occupy, right? We're supposed to work daily. We're not just supposed to sit around and wait for the rapture. We're supposed to occupy, but it's really hard with a mind frame of, hey, we're going to be ding dong ditching out of here any second. So my mind frame to keep myself rightfully productive, not just busy, but productive, is I'm doing my best to prepare my house, my garden, my everything for whoever's going to be left behind. Because here's my assumption: when the rapture happens, our house is going to be empty, right? Our kids are gone, right? And I'm assuming Roger and I are gone. So this will be an empty house. There'll be a lot of that denomination, right? For squatters or whoever just comes around, is either hungry. So it might be, our house may be found by someone who's legitimately left behind, scared, hungry, not knowing what's going on. Or, it could be ravaged by some sort of government thing. That's out of my control. So I'm trying to prepare everything, like everything I'm planting right now. I'm assuming what I'm planting right now, I'm not going to harvest. I'm assuming we're out of here this year, right? But I still want to work diligently. So I'm assuming that somebody is going to find what I'm leaving behind. So we're trying to leave like Bibles and short explanations of like, hey, look, if our house is empty, here's why. Because I think or can assume that some sort of EMP type attack is going to happen either on the US or, worldwide anyway, where most of our electronics or social media is going to be kaput. So I think a lot of these things that we're leaving on social media are just going to be either logged off or gone. And so we're trying to leave stored paper knowledge that someone can come by and read, like, oh, hey, these guys were believers, that's why they're gone. Are you guys, or do you have anything that you're doing for those left behind?
I hadn't thought about that. I mean, honestly, like, I believe in the rapture. Everything I believe, like, I am a believer, right? There's, I try to talk to God every day. I actually have, I'm afraid. Like, I'm like, man, I hope I'm raptured. I really do. I've accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior, but I just look back at how stupid I was, and I'm like, man, I really there are times when I cursed God, right? And you're just not supposed to do that. And I was just, because I was stupid. I thought it was a puppet in the, man. And I just hope that what you do in ignorance, you're forgiven for, right? Like, that's the kind of the crappy thing is I'm jealous because I meet guys like, I've met I go to a church, and it's a cool church. There's a lot of energy there, and the preacher's son, he's just a cool dude. They sing. This church starts off with, they have a band, and they do like 2 or 3 songs, and then the preacher teaches, and then they close with like 1 or 2 songs, and they're really, really good religious songs. But like the preacher's son, he's obviously a believer and he's very happy, and his life just seems to be perfect. But I'm like, man, he grew up he didn't have to make the mistakes I made. I didn't have anyone setting those examples for me. Right. Like it's just, I'm jealous, I know we're not supposed to be jealous, but it's like, I wish I had grown up, I wish I had that example, a kind of, and I love my parents, but it's just, it's weird. You just wish, I wish I had become a believer sooner. That's all, cause I look back and I'm like, man, I said some stupid stuff. I just hate the fact that I cursed God. I did. An example is, I saw a joke on Facebook, right? And another thing is I'm trying not to cuss, right? Like if I look at it's inbred in me. Like cussing made me who I was. It's like, it was a way I could articulate differently, and it's like, now I've said, all right, well, I'm not going to cuss anymore. And every once in a while I cuss, and I'm like, man, why can't I stop that? It's like, but another thing is I saw this joke, and this girl, I'm going to try to say this in a nicer way. She said it in a very crude way. This girl had a Twitter post. It was a 2-part Twitter post, or 3-part. The girl says, I don't care. I'm going out this weekend and I'm sucking a, DICK, right? She says, I'm going out, this girl posts that to her Twitter, and someone replied back, hey, God is watching, right? Like they replied back with that. And she says, I don't care. I'll suck his blank too. Right. And, obviously she's not a believer in God, but what happens if she got saved, next week or next month? She said that, and that's like some pretty damning stuff. Now, and then what's really frustrating is I don't have a good enough memory to remember what I said. It's like, so I find myself sitting on this fence going, man, I really hope I make the cut. I really do. And I'm trying to, do everything I can to make up for it. But,
so I got good news and bad news for you. And this intellectually, because you've told me it yourself, is that no man is good, no, not one, right? We're all sinners. So intellectually, this, but your heart has to know it too, is that there is nothing, not one single thing you can do to be worthy of a gift. Not a single thing. And of course, we're not supposed to sin or desire to sin once we get saved. So I'm not saying this as in you're supposed to rack up as many sins as you can, but the worse sinner you were before you get saved is that much more of a testament to what God can save you from. Thankfully, we're not saved and we're not raptured based on our understanding, on our knowledge, on how long we've been a Christian, because it's only by the blood, and there's not a single thing that his blood doesn't cover, right? So I don't think you have to worry about, I say I don't think, I know you don't have to worry about what spectrum or what gradient you are, what side of the pendulum, whether you are a lesser sinner or a greater sinner, because if you have committed one sin, you've committed all of them, right? So there's no sin that his blood can't cover. So I think what you're feeling now is the sadness, the regret of standing against a holy, not against as in battle, but against as in beside a holy God. Because remember, even when when Peter saw Jesus and some of the disciples, when he called them, the moment they realized who he was, they said, "Turn from me, from a sinful man." Right? It's like we don't realize how sinful we are until we're standing next to the perfect plumb line. So I think that's what you're feeling, but his blood covered you. Like there's nothing you can do to earn it. Think if someone gave you a beautiful wedding gift and you try to pay him back for it, right? They're like, oh, how much do I owe you for this? Right? If you said that, they'd be almost offended. Like, you don't owe me anything. It's a gift. So there's nothing you can do to buy or supplement the cost of that gift. You just have to accept it. And then, just like any other gift, it's honorable to use it in a wholesome way. And so that's all he's calling you to do.
So-
but yeah, his blood, there's nothing that it can't cover.
So I want to ask an interesting question. So Jeffrey Dahmer, let's say he's alive today and he ate all these people. So he finds Christ in jail and he says in his heart he's saved, you know, and he's accepted Christ. So he goes to heaven?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. And I don't have a problem with that. Like, because I think if you, I mean, you know, because Christ changes your heart, right? Like that's the whole thing, right? Like when you let him inside, you're a different person. Your heart is no longer hardened, right?
Right, because you're born again.
Yeah.
And if when you think of it from our lowly perspective, we can say which sins are greater than or lesser than. But if you're looking at from God's perspective, I mean, I used to think of looking down on the globe, but you're looking down on flat Earth, right? Like the Earth is his footstool, so he's looking down at all these little ant-sized people, but he loves each and every one of us, and he can count the very hairs on our head. Is comparatively, one sin is just as bad as the other, right? Like they're all against his law, and if you're perfect, you're a sinner. So yeah, Jeffrey Dahmer will receive the same reward as Billy Graham would, absolutely, because we're all sinners.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean it's literally just the blood is the only thing that can cover.
Now I got a question for both of you. Here's, let's say you find out that someone has been burning children. This is a hypothetical question, just a you know, a question about like morals or. So let's say you find out someone has been burning children alive. Do you kill that person?
That's you, Ranard.
Would you kill that person, Ranard?
Could I or will I?
Would you? If you found out that someone had been burning babies alive, would you kill that person? If you could, assuming you could and you could get away with it, right? Assuming you could and you knew you would get away with it from a legal standpoint, right? Like you knew you had a pass where you were not going to get caught. Would you kill that person?
I know my answer.
You know, there's going to be no repercussions legally or on this earth from man. But would you kill that person if you found out he was burning children alive?
There's two answers, two responses, and I'm going to try to answer it as best as I can from a. It's a good moral question. I think it's a good good question to ask yourself. I think I could. I think we all have a tendency to violence, and so I can either take the approach of, yes, I'm going to do it for moral reasons because this is a defenseless baby. Moral and ethical reasons, because this is a defenseless baby and this is brought upon me, and so I must be the person who must do this deed, and I can take that approach and do it. But will I? I'd say that there's still if we're living in a world where it's complete anarchy. I'm going to preface it by saying I'm going to throw conditions at it. It's complete anarchy, and it's the way of the land of as far as like the conduct that we have, and that's socially acceptable conduct. Yes, to answer the question, yes, but then I have to ask myself, why would I? Like, why do I care? It's not me, and it's certainly not my kid, so why should I care? And what gives me the right to interfere with someone else's doing? And why can't I just let justice prevail and let someone else do it as well? So there would be hesitation on my part right there initially. So I'm talking out both sides of my mouth, and I'm doing it because of social ramifications, considering that we're on a live feed.
So, Angelica, what's your response to that question?
And this is under the assumption that I have control of the situation, right? It's not like I would have a few seconds or minutes to control the scenario. Is I would absolutely, whether my weapon of choice be holding at gunpoint or what have you, let's just say gunpoint just for ease of cleanup. I would absolutely tell or demand of that perpetrator, repent now, immediately, in the name of Jesus. And if they look at me with those demonic, there's nothing you can do eyes, absolutely the trigger gets fired. You're done. If there becomes an instant repentance, then they would be held at that gunpoint or whatever control mechanism until they are absolutely confined in order to not offend ever, ever, ever again. I would give that instantaneous chance to come out from under the whatever demonic influencer is. But if there's not an instant, oh no, what have I done? Yeah, absolutely, I would finish that person. Interestingly, and I know we're not under the same law, but in the Old Testament, there were no prisons, right? Like all the crimes were either an immediate, like hand cutting off or what have you, or it was stoning to death, right? Right up until, well, actually, even after Jesus was crucified. But you know, he gave us a new law on that. But if you offended in what we would consider a capital punishment worthy crime, the punishment was death. There weren't prisons once you're convicted. There was only prisons for holding you until you were convicted. So, you know, in that sense, when it says we shall not, in the Ten Commandments, we shall not murder, we shall not kill, the implication of that is kill without reasoning. So if in self-defense or an accidental, that wasn't considered, that what they considered kill, thou shalt not murder, is out of anger or out of retaliation. So yeah, I would give that. Have you guys ever seen the movie The End of the Spear?
No.
Yes.
It's
yeah,
you have you seen, do you remember that part? And it's part that stuck out to me the most, when the little kid is asking why his dad was killed, who was the missionary, by this Aborigine. So he was literally killed by a spear, and so he was asking his mom why his dad was killed and not the what do you call it? Not Klansmen, but the tribesmen. Do you remember what she said?
No.
She said, because the other man wasn't ready to die and your dad was, which like wow, that struck me. So he, as a believer, was ready to die, whereas the murderer, the Aborigine guy that stabbed him with a spear, his soul was not in a place to die, which is why he didn't. And so I think of that, like, if there was a need for me to intervene on someone's behalf because they're doing such heinous crimes, I think I would give them that instantaneous chance to get their soul right. Because I wouldn't want to be the one responsible for ending a person's life and destined them to hell, even though they deserve it, right? Don't we all? Destined them to hell if there is a slim chance that they would repent. But I would give them just that instantaneous, like, are you regretful? Yes, no, and then I would absolutely finish that, not allow that person to continue offending, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it said, if I remember right, and I'm pretty sure I did. I think it was in Leviticus. I think I was listening to this, and it said if you will see someone passing, a baby into the fire, if you don't kill them, you will be cut off from your people. It actually said you must kill them. Like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like when I heard that, and I'm pretty sure that's what it said, because I remember thinking, because you're kind of torn. It says thou shalt not kill, so it's like, wow, now it doesn't say thou shalt not kill unless you have good reason. It says thou shalt not kill, but then you have this. There's like at least one occurrence, maybe more, in the Bible where it says you must kill this. If you see this person do this, you must kill him.
Right.
And then it's like, wow, so there's at least one exception to the rule. But if I remember right, that is in Leviticus, and because I was listening to that this week, and I was like, it seems like the right thing to do. Like that's, if I were a God, that's what I'd say. If you see someone burn a baby, right, one of my children, yeah, you have my permission.
Well, and if you think about righteous indignation, anytime that Jesus himself became angry, it was never on his own behalf. It was always in defense of someone else or in defense of God. So when you think of when he turned over the tables of the money changers inside the temple, that was anger on behalf of the desecration they were doing inside the temple. Whenever he told the disciples to make sure that they have a sword with them, and if you don't have one, it'd be better to sell your coat and have one than to not have one. That was on behalf of other people. But when crimes or injustices were done against him is when he was silent as a sheep before the slaughters, and he was just quiet. He turned the other cheek, literally. So I think that's a big indicator that there is a time that we ourselves may be led to be martyrs, and then but when we see an injustice happening against someone else, absolutely that's okayed. I mean, our savior stood up for those who were being defiled. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know if you can see the photos. I've just been clicking on random photos, right? Just so like our one viewer doesn't have to look at our ugly mugs all day. But are you familiar with Cappy? I don't know his last name, but did you ever see this video
Cappy Isaac, or Isaac Cappy?
Yeah, isn't that? There's so much evidence, and this guy says he was friends with Seth Green. Goes in Seth Green's house, and Seth confides in him that he has a room for children, for performing rituals on children, like confides in him, right? And he just openly shares this stuff. Of course, he says, I'll probably be killed, this. And then what he ends up, he says, I'm not suicidal, but if I show up dead, they killed me. Well, he ends up throwing himself off a highway, right? And then Tom Hanks just happens to post this photo of like a glove or something like that on that same highway at roughly the same mile marker. It's like anyone that's looking for this stuff, it's so evident. It's so obvious.
And who was the DJ also that did that one video? I'm gonna have to look up his name. He
pedophiles. Huh.
Yeah. I'm gonna look up his name real quick. But it was that DJ that did or he was like kind of like techno-y type music, and his last video.
Oh yes. He was making a video. He was making a documentary about yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah, I can't think of it. He was a famous, if you were in that scene, he was famous. He was wealthy. I know exactly who you're talking about. I just can't think of his name. But it's, when you start looking, these pedophiles all run together. They're all in the same clique. It's a group of, and they just feed each other with power, right? And I don't know. It's some crazy stuff to look at if you're from the outside, right? We're on the inside, and it's very easy to conceptualize. But if you haven't gone down this road, you'd never believe it.
Let's see, what does that say? Jeffrey Epstein and Harvey Weinstein were photographed together at Princess.
Yeah, I got so many. Renard, they're on that drive. I don't know if you ever. It's too much to go through, right? The drive, you can't finish the drive. There's way too many. there's just way too much stuff. But I've given out this, I save everything and I archive it and I catalog it. Right. And I have directories of everything. And I just, so this guy, this is Epstein Island, right? You got Lady Gaga there and Marina Abramovic and this guy shows up dead. That's the last picture of him, right? Like that's, they were hunting him. They hunted him on the island, right? They're all taking pictures and just like, it's a good old time. This guy knows he's getting ready to be hunted. And they're all like, hey man, we're getting ready to kill you, but say cheese, It's
fucking nuts.
Yeah, it is nuts. It's the black man's name was Ryan Singleton. His body was found in Mojave Desert soon after this picture was taken. Never seen alive.
And his organs were missing, right?
Yeah, kidney and liver.
Hey, so you may have already come across it too because you were researching the same as I was, but do you remember that couple, I'm saying maybe 10 years ago-ish?
Oh my God.
That whole,
A dingo ate my baby. Do you remember that? It was like,
no.
So it was on the news. It was kind of like the Elizabeth Smart type thing where it was a particular abduction case that went nationwide. And the whole thing that everyone she kept saying, a dingo ate my baby, because it was like in the Arizona desert or something. And apparently her and her husband and their newborn, like I want to say like a 10-month-old, 11-month-old, something like that, were camping, but they were in separate tents. So the mom and dad were in one, and then they set up this like playpen area right in another tent.
A whole documentary on that. Yes, absolutely. Yes, I saw that.
So do you remember how and then they hired these trackers and they're like, there has been no dingoes in this area. Do you know who was
at a party so they're in the desert, right? But the closest town, you know who was at that party? Marina Abramovic. Yeah. And that couple just prior had posted pictures of their baby in a black dress with red shoes. And so absolutely, it was like when you look at it and when you see that this party was going on right there, and Marina Abramovic just happened to be at that desert, at that party, right? So when you see some of these cases that have been publicized, you realize just how long they've been talking in code in our faces, and the chill. I feel so bad, so helpless for all
Renard,
these kids
that. Sorry, one of the things you glanced over. I'm curious if Renard knows. Renard, do you know what the red shoes signify?
What are they, pedophiles?
Well, beyond pedophiles, I mean that's these people that torture these children and extract their blood under extreme circumstances, right? They say it's made out of their skin, right? And even Macaulay Culkin has testified to this. Macaulay Culkin said he was told by an executive producer there was a girl that died. She was in the movie Poltergeist. This girl went missing, right? And according to Macaulay Culkin, the executive told him, because he had worked with her, like Macaulay knew the girl, right? They were like the similar age. And he's like, you know what? And he's like telling Macaulay, hey, you know what happened to that girl, right? And then he sticks out his shoes. He goes, it makes the finest leather you can, finest leather made, right? So the Red Shoe Club signifies you're part of this evil group, right? The most heinous, right?
That's human leather.
Yeah, and the Pope wears them.
Yes.
Yeah, this is some weird crap, man. This isn't a cool club to be in, right? And then of course what do you have? Snoop. Now I don't know. Maybe Snoop Dogg just thought it was cool. Like you always have that, right? Like people but Snoop Dogg has this song with 50 Cent. And he says, "Got my now and later, whatever those shoes are called." But he shows himself wearing a pair of those red shoes, right? It's not funny.
Yeah, you're not accidentally given a pair of those.
Yeah. So, it seems like you have to sell your soul to be wealthy, and to seal the deal, you got to kill a child, like that's what's in my head. Like, you want to seal the deal. You got to kill a child. And if you want to move up in that organization and you're going to sell their lies, you got to continue, and they're going to reward you well. They're going to make you famous. They're going to give you the good beats, right? They're going to put you on tracks with other famous artists. They're going to, and I've listened to them. There's a documentary. It's a black and white one by Bob Dylan. And holy cow, man. This guy says straight up, he goes, he's not even joking, just straight faced as you could be. He's like, yeah, I sold my soul to the devil. He goes, I got to do this my whole life. He's like, he's being serious. He's not joking. There's no mockery here. He looked at the dude straight faced with just straight as you could look. And he says, I sold my soul to the devil. He goes, I got to live up my end of the bargain now. He goes, I got to do this till the day I die.
There's this one, and I'll post her videos every once in a while, but I try to limit it because it's only really for those of us who have went far enough down the rabbit trail to realize it's not crazy anymore. But her name's Tamara of Magdalene, and she's a Christian, and she's definitely a lioness, a defender for Christianity, but she doesn't hold anything back when it comes to exposing like reptilian sacrifice, occult, anything. Like, she is right up in there, and she backs everything up with scripture and with like confessions like that. Like, I sold my soul type of confessions, and then she'll I don't know how she does her research. It's insane. But even like Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers, and all these guys that you would never expect, and man, she exposes everybody. And you just can't deny it. It's like, we think of their interview clips as eccentric or artistic or whatever, but when you see it compiled, there's no doubt that they've sold themselves.
And remember what you were saying earlier? You said that whoever's email said they were going to throw a chicken in the fire or something like that. What was it? They were going to sacrifice a chicken?
That was Clinton. She said she was going to bring her inhaler because she gets excited because they're sacrificing a chicken to Moloch that night.
Yeah. And a chicken is code for a very young boy, right? That's the pedophile code as cracked by the CIA, supposedly, right? So a chicken is a very young boy. So that meant they were going to pass a very young boy to the fire. So they're going to, and why is like the vice president or whatever her role is sending emails like, I get so excited about putting a chicken in the fire, it's like it makes no sense. It's obviously a code, yet it's a pedophile code, right?
Right.
Most people can't fathom what's really going on out there.
Yeah. What does this say?
I think for a lot of people that aren't believers, and I'm just going to, I know there's exceptions to the rules, but a lot of people that aren't believers have no standard or no explanation or no recourse as to this. So for many people that are lost themselves, it's not even a war that they can fight, or not even an enemy that they could identify with or are willing to, because they have no weapons, right? We as Christians have weapons. Some of us have sharper weapons than others, or duller than others, but we all have weapons we can use. So we can look at this evil in the face, and based on how well forged our weapons are, we know how deep into the evil we can go and still be safe ourselves, right? Whereas people with no weapons at all, it's easier for them just to ignore it or deny it. I mean, think of us as fighters, right? We know how far into an escalated physical confrontation we can go and still handle ourselves. Whereas somebody who has no experience either avoids a situation altogether, or they make a fool of themselves in, let's say, a domestic situation, or some sort of street brawl. But as skilled fighters, we can say, okay, this is how far my defense system can take me, and I can confront evil up to this point. So I think there's a lot of very worldly or blind or sleeping people that know they have no answer for this. They have nothing. So it's actually easier for them to ignore the thing altogether, because they have nothing to fight this battle with.
Yeah. I'm just looking at some of these photos, but you see Bill Maher is affiliated with a production company called Kid Love Productions, right?
You know who his dad is, right?
No.
Pull up a picture of him right next to Hugh Hefner.
Oh, no, I don't know if I could find that. I don't think that I have that, but so he looks just like Hugh Hefner, huh?
Exactly like Hugh Hefner.
What? No kidding.
Yep.
Wouldn't surprise me. They're all, I mean, have you ever seen the president or whatever it is of Canada next to Fidel Castro.
Yes.
Identical. Twin
No
brothers.
wonder he doesn't grow a beard, right?
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me a
my
bit. Yeah, that's pretty that's pretty, it's a club, man. It's a club. And if you're not in it, yeah,
Wow.
wouldn't
Huh.
surprise me.
Well, and
Really?
just like that haunting picture of the kids with the red shoe sitting in that pool. I mean, you know that's geez, what's her name? Who's the newscaster with the white hair?
It's a her?
No. So the newscast, the guy, the
guy?
gay guy.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I know who you're talking about. I'm not a fan of
Yeah,
him. I know exactly who you're talking about. He's
geez,
a
what's his
probably a 45-year-old, 50-year-old pretty boy.
right?
Yeah, I know who you're
So
talking about.
that's his mom's house. You
Who's
know what
this
house
guy?
I'm talking about? That swimming pool.
Oh, this is sorry.
Is that Tom Hanks' son?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
all kinds of Illuminati, hangman, the hangman upside down. Dude, I mean, like the most Illuminati tattoos you can get. Everything on him is satanic, right? Like, and this is Tom Hanks' son, right?
And I saw a picture of him. He did a selfie with one of those like blood rings on his pinky. And it was a picture of him in his bathroom mirror, and he had blood all around his mouth and on his chest. And the caption was, "What did you just get done doing?"
So here's
Yeah.
a tweet that was apparently posted by Courtney Cox, right? From Friends. How long does it take to cook a baby in the microwave? I don't know. I close my eyes when I masturbate. Right? This is some
What
messed
the
up.
fuck?
Yeah.
You know, Jennifer Aniston is one of the high priestesses, right?
I don't doubt it. They're all. I don't doubt that a bit.
So there was a little stint where Jennifer Aniston hosted Ellen's show when Ellen was on that little hiatus, and Aniston could not help herself. She had on, oh geez, I can't remember her name, when that younger girl that used to date Justin Bieber had her on, and had Adam Sandler on, and it was almost like one of their like public rituals things where they had to do like a coded confession. And Jennifer Aniston could not help herself from asking things like, "Pizza's fun, right? Isn't pizza so fun?" And you know,
I
to that
remember
girl,
that.
like, "Hey, remember the pizza party we just had?" And like, "Yeah, it's so fun." And then to Adam Sandler, he did the same type of questions, like, "So what do you think about pizza?" Right? Like, who asked that, right? And Adam Sandler, you could tell he knew about it and participated in it because he had said, like he didn't want to say what he had to say, but you know, he had to say it as a confession. Went along the lines of, yeah, pizza's yeah, great, but when my wife does the pizza with the younger kids, I just can't be in the room. And then Jennifer Aniston like cut off that line of questioning real quick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's obvious what they're talking about. There's no doubt about it. I sit and watch these, you know, they all, oh God, I wish I was better with names and I could just give more examples, but obviously Ellen DeGeneres and Oprah and Tom Hanks and, Dana, no, not Dana Carvey. No, he's a comedian. I wish I could remember his name right now, but you know, they throw it right in your face. The stuff they say is so blatant.
Yeah. And honestly, most of I know, myself included, would not have known any of this if it weren't for the whole Corona shutdown, everyone's on the internet stuff. 'Cause I would not have had time to research any of this, but when that whole when everything happened and everyone was just online, and then do you remember when the dark web or whatever got unmasked for that little bit of time, and the Democratic logo was changed to a rat? And so everyone was free to research all of this, all of the adrenochrome and all the deaths from vaccines and all that stuff. I think that's really what opened up the world to know this. Otherwise, most of us would not have, we would have still been supporting the celebrities right along, just thinking they're eccentric.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Oh yeah, dude, it's deep. I mean, if you haven't gone down all these roads, I've went down them all. Frazzle drip, I've went down all of these, and it leaves you in a place of despair.
Hey, so Ashton Kutcher here. Do you remember that testimony he gave in front of the Senate or whatever when it
Mhm.
sounded like he was advocating for
Yeah.
helping victims? That girl that was behind him, like laughing and smirking the whole time, that was one of Epstein's traffickers. So
Wow.
they're all in cahoots.
Yeah, it's all a joke for them. Like it's mockery is what it is. It's actually just and look at the crew right there, Epstein and Musk and
Is that Spike Lee?
Spike Lee, yeah. But
Ugh, gross.
yeah.
He's
Anyway.
he's a doozy there.
Oh,
So
there's a
that
guy right
swimming
there.
pool,
There's
that was
a guy.
right there. Anderson Cooper, that's
Yeah. There you go. I couldn't remember.
so
his name.
that's his mom's swimming
Yep.
pool.
Yeah, the Vanderbilts, Biltmore Horse,
Yeah.
Biltmore House, yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know his brother died at a young age, right?
I did, yeah. I remember the story, yeah.
Mhm.
And like the theory is that like his brother was killed in front of him or something, or
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so his brother was a sacrifice, and what's crazy is like, so
Because his
part of
brother
me,
was like supposedly his brother was like a good, like had a heart, right? Like
yeah,
was like a good guy
yeah,
and couldn't do this. Like that was the thought process. The good brother.
right. And part of me, because obviously that's Anderson Cooper in that picture, like when you zoom in on the face, like there's no doubt that's him. So part of me is like, I feel so horribly bad for him for being a victim of this satanic stuff. But now as an adult, like when I saw that picture of him and his gay boyfriend or whatever that adopted that baby, my heart sank because you know what's going on in that house. And everyone's like, oh, we're so happy for the gay couple adopting the baby. Like, no, that's an infant that's going to be given up to child sacrifice.
Yeah.
You remember that magazine cover of all them? Oh my goodness, made me want to throw up.
That's why I pray. I do, man. I honestly, and just that soccer ball, I'm sure is a video that was passed around, frazzle drip, and they made a mockery of it, right? Like they just, for them, it was like, you see it everywhere. It's on their shirts. It's on their, it's on paintings in their walls. It's on, they dress up as, it's just a joke for them because they think we're never going to find out about it. But it says in the end, all these things will come to light and they will be the ones standing in front of us, right? We will be judging them. And I hope that like God gives me a sword and just makes me a harbinger and just says, lay waste. Oh my God. It would be like a dream come true.
Well, let me ask you, when you, it makes my skin crawl. When you learned about the frazzle drip, like, were you even able to look at your own kid?
Let me tell you, I don't let Ushi out of my sight.
Yeah.
And if I take her to my dad's, I make sure the garage door is locked. And if I'm going to leave her with my dad, let's say, for example, I make sure I'm like, you do not open the garage door, keep the door locked. I don't like leaving her. I mean, I'm terrified, like, honestly, that something could happen to her. And I think they single out people, like I think wouldn't they want to teach lessons to the people that speak out? Like it's kind of a fear of speaking out, right? Like if you're speaking out, it's like, hey, let's single out these people. But man, I keep her close.
I can't look into this stuff without superimposing my own children in it, and it shuts me down. Like
all I can say is you're gonna have to kill me, and I'm strapped, man. It's some of you are going with me,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm pretty safe where I go, what I do, the people I hang out with. I don't go out. My house is barred up. Like I've got these bars. Like call me, and I've got these bars that you prop up under the door locks. Like you can't kick down my door. It's you'd have to kick the door in two, right? And they're pretty solid doors. So, and I've got guns all over my house, and they're not 22s, right? These are. If you got I don't care if you got on a bulletproof vest, you're going to be knocked 10 feet back, and that'll give me the time I need to aim for your head. Right. So, yeah,
I think the time for us to dominion theology is the messed up theology, thinking that we're going to make the world a better place and that's what we're supposed to aim for. I think the time for that is well past. This world will not get better. Like it won't. There's not a single aspect of this world that's going to get better. So for us to live in naivete, thinking that your kids can just go outside and play right now, that's not. I don't think that's paranoid anymore. Like the devil is chomping at the bit, waiting for his turn to go, which is going to be any day. So yeah, I think maybe 20 years ago you can send your kids to the playground, but we're not talking about just kidnappers. It's like straight demonic. So
this isn't just right. We're not just going to hold your kid for money. It's not that. Or
no,
rape would be a blessing compared to what we have in store.
Right.
I hope that it says during the tribulation, a lot of people will wake up, right? You'll have the rapture, but then you'll have these 7 years where some people can still take Christ. And some of this I paraphrase from you, right? Like you make it, but anyway, I just hope that other people, that this all, I can't wait for this all to happen so that, who's the nut job, right? In the end, right? When all this comes to pass, I can't wait for all these people to see just how blind they were, that this was so obvious.
Yeah. Who's that?
There's Lucifer right there, the light bringer, and which is the Statue of Liberty, right? That's here you go. Marina Abramovich next to whatever Rothschild. I don't idolize them, so I don't know their names. I just know he's one of the satanics. And there you go. There's Lucifer, the light bringer. Which is interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It is. And what's crazy is all these people who have sold their soul and are doing the devil's bidding and bringing him the blood sacrifices that he wants. Oh, that picture makes me want to throw up. I've looked at that picture for
they
so
never
long.
Found this girl, right? They never identified her.
No.
Patton Oswalt. I hate this dude. I hate him.
Oh my goodness. I can look at this poor girl's face and then I have to turn my face away. And one time I called into a radio show because I had a question and I still don't know the answer for it, but it was pictures like that made me ask. And I still don't know the answer, but can prayers...
Hey, Thompson, go back to the other one.
Sorry.
Which one?
This one?
Yeah, that one right there. Pizza girl.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Angelica. Sorry.
Yeah. So, and I still don't know the answer to it, but can prayers transcend time? As in, like when I look at that picture of that poor child, knowing what happened to her, if we pray now for protection from the past, and not protection as in circumstance, but I always pray for these kids that they may not feel pain, right? That they may have just protection from pain or fear, like an out of body type experience. Like if we pray for the ones that have already, like, can our prayers go backwards? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that because I know God is outside of time.
I hope they feel the wrath of God for eternity, right? Like I hope that boiling
there
fire,
will be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is that all these people that are doing Satan's bidding and getting him his blood sacrifices, they have this impression that they're going to be in charge or have some sort of ranking in hell, but they don't realize that Satan hates them just as much. So they're going to feel everything that they've been doing. Satan's going to do it to them. They're not going to have like a position of power. Yeah.
Wouldn't you love to see I don't mean this in the wrong way. It could be misinterpreted, but wouldn't you love to see the presentation that Satan shows these people? Like, no, you're cool. You can kill kids, fillet them, cut their hearts out while they're alive. It's cool, man. We're going to have this paradise and there's going to be sex and parties and drugs for eternity. Like, I would love to see what presentation. And then I just want to go, dudes, there's a whole book about this and he's a constant liar, right? Like you're not doing math real well here. But I would love to just see that presentation. I would love to see it. What is he promising? And in what way does that contradict the Bible? Right.
And I'd have to say probably one of the biggest gotchas that he uses is fear, because if you think about what these people are doing, ultimately they're wanting to extend their life forever, and they're wanting to secure their spot afterwards, which means they're afraid of dying, and they're afraid of what's going to happen after, which means they have no concept of God, right? So that's why they're always trying to stay young and extend their, where as a Christian, I mean, of course, no one wants to go through the process of dying, but we're not afraid to die. Like, yeah, the process might hurt, like ripping off a band-aid. We're not afraid to die. Whereas these guys, they're so afraid of getting older. They're so afraid of dying that they will do
Yeah.
any extension of their life, whether it's taking another person's organs or blood or whatever it is. And so I think that's what Satan starts the presentation with, like, oh, you want to stay young forever? You want to do this, you want to do that. And it's such a simple fix, such a simple lie he's doing.
Yeah. And people have come out about it. Like this girl came out against Tom Hanks and said she was purchased for sex, right? Like there's so much that's not even a conspiracy, right? There's so much out there that's fact, that it's brushed under the rug and hidden by the media, but it's out there if you look. If you look, you can corroborate enough that common sense pretty much, tells you the rest of it's true. But you have to be looking. And if you're not looking, you're never going to see it. We went over it, 6:17.
Holy crap, man.
I can talk with you guys. We can do this. We're every Sunday, I won't be late again. Like today, something happened, but I was a few minutes late, but I think we're.
Hey, listen, Ranard wouldn't have even known you were late if you didn't tell him.
I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I said Ranard wouldn't have even known you were late if you didn't tell him.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it was my turn today, Ranard. But yeah, next Sunday, 4 p.m., same time. And hey, if either of you have a guest you want to bring on, I'd like to get a guest, right? Like every weekend if we can. So whoever comes up with a guest first, just let the other people know so we don't get a guest. But let's look for a guest this weekend, and we'll kind of go over all these topics and see where that guest is and how they got to where they are, but preferably someone on the same road as us or someone open to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'll add some flavor.
And until the next week, in case we get raptured out, make sure you leave something in your house that explains where you are.
I will do that. I definitely will.
Wait, what's that about? I must have left.
In case you get raptured out, your house is going to be empty. So leave something behind so whoever is squatting in your house, when they're hungry and all that, they'd be like, whoa, they were a Christian. That's why they're gone. Because they're going to be telling everyone we got abducted by aliens.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Leave like a left behind letter.
Yep. It wasn't aliens. It was rapture. All right. Well, have a good night, everyone. And we'll meet up again next Sunday.
Next Sunday it is.
All right.
Bye.
Hey, Angelica, real quick before you go.
Yeah.
What would you say is your definition of rapture?
We will be transformed in the twinkling of an eye. We will be caught up in the clouds is what we are told. And it says 2 men will be in the field, 1 will be taken, 1 will be left. 2 women will be grinding wheat, 1 will be taken, 1 will be left. 2 will be sleeping in a bed, 1 will be taken, 1 will be left. He'll come with the sound of a trumpet, and in that fast, that twinkling of an eye, we will be transformed, and that will begin the 7-year wedding feast with our Savior. That will be the wedding feast. Us as the bride will meet Jesus. That also begins the 7-year tribulation. So tribulation for those on earth, wedding feast for those caught up in the clouds.
And tribulation being what again?
When the Antichrist is revealed and there's no Christians, no children, no church on earth.
So
yeah,
we never talked about that Messiah that the Jews has identified.
Oh, I think he's just a practice one. He's not even a real threat. He's a practice one, though. It's a good chance to use it as an icebreaker for those people who are like, wait, what's going on? Yeah, it's a very good icebreaker for those who are clueless.
Wow.
Oh, by the way, real quick before we close, did you all see that Mick Jagger video?
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, is that crazy?
Dude.
Here, look. We'll play that real quick. I'll play that. I'll play
Yeah.
that video here. Let me add a video. No, wait a minute. Oh, here I gotta stop screen sharing, and then I'm gonna add a video here.
Like, is anyone gonna take him seriously? I hope so.
Play local video. Choose video. Okay. Have you seen that, Renard? Did you see that?
No.
Okay, hold on one second. It's oops, sorry. All right, 1 second. I'm getting there. The esoteric flash.
Hey, so as you're pulling that up, you know the kids in the ones under age of accountability will be raptured too, right? So here's what my mind can't help but think, but I know God's got it under control, right? He's got this whole thing. Think about pregnant women. They're gonna be like 7 months pregnant. 1 minute rapture happens, their belly will be empty. Dude.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
That is. All right, I'm all right. Here we go. I'm going to play this thing.
It's mind control, the other's fat and cold. It's never warming up, the after's turned to slush. The second's coming late, and there's aliens in the deep state.
Yes.
You're muted, Thompson.
Sorry. Never mind.
Wow.
Some crazy stuff, right? Mick Jagger with the, former singer from the Rolling Stones, just belting out some weird ass lyrics, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's all coincidence. Just some weird stuff he felt like saying. All right, cool.
You got your Earth is flat.
Yeah. Well, Bill Gates is in my bloodstream, and the Earth is cold. It's not warming up, right? That like global warming is just a hoax, right? All that we could go down. There's so many roads we could go down. So many different conspiracies we could go down. And the irony is 99% of them are true.
Well, he said Bill Gates is in my bloodstream, meaning he took the vaccine.
Well, or if you took the vaccine, Bill Gates is in your bloodstream, right? That could mean it that way too. Angelica, you there? I think we lost Angelica.
I am. I just muted for a second so I could listen to that awesome song.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up, man. It's been over an hour. We're coming up on 2.5 hours, so it's too fun, man. We could do this all night, but let's work on a guest for next Sunday. And until next time, peace.
All right. Later, buddy.
Later,
guys.
Peace.